Hi guys, you'll probably notice that my hair is a mess and I only have some makeup on because I'm about to film a different tutorial, but I figured while I was on the topic and thinking about primers, I would make a basics video about primers. So in a minute, you'll see how to use a face primer, and eye primers you've seen pretty much in all of my tutorials. I always put an eye primer on before. So this video will basically just be the basics of explaining primers and their uses and all that good stuff. So let's just jump in. Let's start with face primers because I usually use that first. After moisturizer, you put on your face primer. I have a couple different ones with me. There's tons and tons and tons and tons and billions of primers out there in the market. There's primers for pretty much everything under the sun, for oil control, for redness, for brightening, for minimizing pores, for making skin look smoother. There is just pretty much like anything that you could think of you needed a primer to do, there's a primer for it. So I only have a couple handfuls of primers because I use primers, but not every day. It depends on what kind of event I'm doing or what kind of day I'm going to have. So the first primer I ever bought was the Rimmel Fix and Perfect. This is in 001, which you've probably seen in my videos before. They reformulated this. When you go in the store, it looks different packaging and the formula's a little bit different. This one is, you've probably seen it before, it comes out kind of orange, but it goes onto the skin, a normal skin color. I liked this primer. It just was a little watery, and I like more gel-based primers for my skin, but it is a good light coverage face primer, especially the new formula of it's really good, actually, and it's pretty affordable. It's a drugstore brand, Rimmel, so it's not a high-end product by any means. Also, another drugstore one that I have is L'Oreal Studio Secrets Professional Magic Perfecting Base. Comes in a little pot like this, and it's kind of like a pinky white, and it's like a souffle type consistency, but it goes on like a gel. This is one of the heavier primers that I found. It's really good if you need a heavy primer. A little bit goes a long way with this product. It's also a drugstore product. I think it was around like $12 or something like that, whereas this one I think was around like $6 or $8. So not that big of a price difference, but still in the bargain brands of makeup anyways. Really good primer, like I said. It is a heavier primer, so sometimes, you don't want too much heavy stuff on your skin, so this one has its moments. Then also I got this little trio from Sephora, and it has some primers in here, little samples. This one is from Benefit, and it's That Gal Brightening Primer. This you put on, a base, and it literally brightens the skin. It's a pink-based primer, which, when you put pink on skin, makes everything brighter. So it's a pretty good one when your skin's looking a little dull and a little lifeless, and you want to bring some life back into it. And then also, the Pore Professional, it's the Pro Balm to minimize the appearance of pores from Benefit. And this one is a skin-toned color, which I don't think it's going to show you. No, it's not going to. But this is probably my favorite primer that I own because it is a gel-based type primer. It does what it says. It minimizes the pores. It makes the skin kind of look like flawless and poreless, and it is just really comfortable. It doesn't affect my skin in any negative way, and it's probably my favorite primer, and I'm definitely going to be getting the bigger size when this one runs out. So I think for face primers, that's the only ones I really have on hand right now that I can reach to. So with face primers, a lot of times people have a tendency that I've seen, especially beginners, to put the primer everywhere that they would put their foundation. Now, that is a big no-no. Do not do that. Stay away from that. You're going to be using too much product, and you don't need to. The primer should go in the middle of your face, which is here, here, under your eyes, around your mouth, and maybe the bottom of your chin if you need it. The primer stays in this little circle of an area. It doesn't go back here at all or anywhere. It stays right in the middle. That's your T-zone, so especially if you're using like an anti-oil, that's where you need it. For brightening, that's where you want brightening. For firming, this is, what you need the appearance is. For pores, that's where your pores will be larger. They'll be larger here than they are back here. So make sure that your primers stay in the middle of your face. You'll be using less product that way, and you'll get a better result. Okay, now on to eye primers. I only have a couple of handfuls of eye primers because I kind of stick to the ones that I like and I know that work. This one is from Benefits, and it's called Stay Don't Stray, and this is a tiny little sample one. This one is an eyeshadow primer and also a concealer primer. I use this one mainly for concealers. You put this, for me, under the eye area, pat it in, and it will make sure your concealer stays, doesn't crease, doesn't do any of the funky moving around that sometimes concealers can do if you don't put them on right. Now for eyelid primers, that one also does that, but I have some special ones. There is the Urban Decay Primer Potion. This is the small travel size in the old packaging. I've said my piece before about this primer. I think it is overrated and not very good and a little bit too pricey for the job it does, I guess. It's not my favorite primer at all, so that one I kind of chuck. Don't use it. I've also gotten the NYX eyeshadow base. This is in ESB02. This is the eyeshadow primer with Pearl. I use this one only when I have a glitter look or a sparkly or a shimmery look and I need extra shimmer, because this one, like I said, has Pearl. It has shimmers in it. And it will make any matte eyeshadow sparkly. My favorite primer ever used to be the Shadow Insurance by Too Faced. You've seen this pretty much in most of my videos, but it is the same price, I think, maybe $1 or $2 off of the Potion primer. Obviously you get, this is travel size, but you get a lot. You get, what is this, 0.35 fluid ounces, 11 grams. It's a lot of product actually. But for cheaper, a lot cheaper actually, this is like $7, is the Mary Kay eye primer. And this you get 8.5 grams, which you can obviously, tell the difference. But this primer does the exact same thing, if not the same, maybe better, and it is a lot cheaper. So this is my favorite eye primer of the moment, and it's stickier and thicker and clings to eyeshadow a tiny bit better, I think. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the eye primers and face primers that I have on hand. So following this, right now you're going to see a demonstration of how to use a face primer before your foundation, and then how to apply the foundation over the face primer. So I hope this was helpful on the basics of primers, and I will see you guys in a minute. You'll see me doing the rest of the tutorial. So, alright, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do before you apply your foundation is you're going to apply a primer, if you are going to apply a primer. Now, I think before this part you saw all the different types of primers. I'm just going to choose one for the basis of the tutorial. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it would matter what primer you're using based on what kind of event or day you're going to have. But for this purposes, I'm just going to grab one. And the primer that I'm going to use is the That Gal by Benefits, the brightening face primer. And with primers, you don't really need a lot because it only has to go on your T-zone. So I'm just going to squirt, like, literally like a line of this, like that much. And it seems like a lot, but trust me, it's really not. And I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to kind of dab it on my chin, a dab on each side of my nose, up my forehead, on my nose. And I'm also going to put this down here where the shadows are going to be, and right around my mouth. And then there's still some product on my finger, but I'm going to take the other hand and work this into my skin so we can really get the primer kind of sunk into my skin and not just sitting on top of the skin. You really want, like I said, to get it to sink in so it does its job. And this one's a brightening one, so it's not going to be like a anti-oil one or anti-redness. This one's actually just going to only brighten the skin. So this one I'm only going to be putting in my T-zone, which is what I do with all of my primers, to be honest. I rarely will ever put a primer on the back of my face or down my neck. I always keep my primers here, right around my eyes, right around here, and right on the lower chin. I never bring it backwards because you don't really need a primer back there. Anyways, primers should belong in front of your face. Okay, so now that I have the primer on, I'm going to let that sit for a minute, because you want that to soak into your skin, like I said before. And I forgot to mention that after you wash your face and you do your toner and everything like that, you must put a moisturizer on before you put a toner on, otherwise sometimes it'll dry out your skin. So the moisturizer I used is the Alba Moisture Cream with jasmine and vitamin E. Looks like this. It is a vegetarian product, so it's all natural, which means there's no chemicals on my skin, which is always really, really nice. I'm going to go ahead and put my foundation on. Now, I like to have kind of a medium to full coverage, but sometimes I will sheer out my foundation to make it a light to medium coverage, and I'll do a different video on how to do that. So I'm going to use the Maybelline 115, the Fit Me, and I'm just going to pour that some on the back of my hand. And I'm going to use a different brush than I normally use. It's actually kind of a lot, but it kind of poured out. I'm going to use my foundation brush by EcoTools. Lately I've been using a bigger one. This one's smaller. The bigger one I use because I can get a lot more done a lot faster. So I'm just kind of making like war streaks on my head. Doesn't really matter exactly where you put this. The only idea is to get the product worked onto the skin. And if you only stay on one side of the brush, like a sweeping motion like this, you'll get a more full coverage. If you go back and forth, you'll sheer out the foundation just by using the brush. So now I'm just going to work this into my skin, making sure to really work the product in and making sure to cover everything. Okay, so I finished, kind of buffing this in, not even buffing, just applying this with the normal foundation brush. Now I go in with a buffing brush. This has literally no markings on it, so I can't remember what company it is, but it's a dual fiber buffing brush, and I just take it and I literally work the product into my skin, just really pushing and buffing the foundation in. What that's going to do is it's going to take the foundation from a medium to full coverage into the medium category and really make it look like skin. Since I didn't sheer out my foundation to make it a light to medium, I'm taking the full coverage, medium full coverage makeup and making it into more of a medium coverage, but also making sure that it doesn't sit like foundation, that it sits like skin, which I think is the reason we all wear foundation, because we want our skin to look like skin, but better, not like we're wearing foundation. So applying it with one of these brushes and then a buffing brush is like the best trick that you can use to get foundation to look like skin. And from this step, you would go on and finish the rest of your makeup. This is obviously where most of my tutorials start, would be from this point, which is what I'm going to do actually now. I'm going to go ahead and film a different tutorial. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it explained a little bit to you guys, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!